Hi, I'm candidate KJJ554, and this is my IB Theater research presentation on the Khon Mass Dance. So the Khon Mass Dance is a drama dance that originated in Thailand in the 1500s, originally as a storytelling based on the Ramakien, which was a Buddhist Thai epic, which was based on the Ramayana, which was an Indian epic. Both are pictured here. So in the Khon Kaen province of Thailand, which was in the northeast, that's where it originated as storytelling, and it was originally for entertainment and royalty. So they would use it in king coronation ceremonies. It was written by King Rama the First, the Second, the Fourth, and the Sixth. So that's why it was so beheld close and significant to royalty, because it was actually written by the kings. So the story, the Ramakien, is based on Crown Prince Rama of Ayodhya, and he had this wife Sita, and she was kidnapped by the demon king Tosakant of Lanka. He kidnapped her in hopes of marrying her, so the story is about Crown Prince Rama going to the demon underworld to save her and bring her back. And the moral of the Ramakien is that good will always prevail over evil. So I have a quote from Amolwan Kiriwa: "If people behave with wisdom, with discipline, and with goodness, their lives will be peaceful." So that was one of the biggest Buddhist ideologies, that if you act with kindness and graciousness, which is another component of the dance is grace, then your life will be peaceful and you will go to a good afterlife. So more about the development of Khon. So the Ramakien most editions were burned by Burmese armies in 1767, which was also the end of the Ayutthaya period. So because of that, Khon lost a lot of popularity and it was not as well practiced as it used to be. So in 2005, Her Majesty Queen Sirikit, pictured right here, she implemented a program for Thai scholars to come together and to restore some old costumes. And as you can see here are some of the costumes. So they were very royal, like the masks were obviously a big piece. So the four characters of Khon, the lords, the ladies, the demons, and the monkeys, they would all originally wear masks, but as the dance developed, the lords and ladies would stop wearing the mask, but to represent the holy divinity and beauty of the gods, because that's what they were. So because of her restoration, there are now tourism shows in Thailand of the dance. They have one every year in front of the Grand Palace, so it's to celebrate their tradition and culture. So here I have another quote from Winnicott in 1986. "It has come through the test of being ruthlessly used and of having been the object, unprotected by us, of our most primitive impulses and ideas." So this builds upon the idea, or the attack of the Burmese armies in 1767, talking about how Khon was treated as an object and not as a holy Brahmin ceremony like it was originally intended. So that's why it's such a significant part of Thailand culture, because it is deeply integrated into the royalty. And because it was burned, it was seen as, treason and just very disrespectful to Thailand culture. So for my actual convention, I will be doing body and a battle pantomime. So right here you can see in the Ramakien, Crown Prince Rama fought lots of Tongkakat's relatives, because that was his army, and the monkeys served as Crown Prince Rama's army. So if you can see here, there are the monkeys in the background. That is the Crown Prince, and that is Tosakant's nephew. So I will be doing my own version of that, and practicing the battle pantomime, practicing the movement and the grace and fluidity of the body. Okay, so for part 2 of my research presentation, I'm going to be talking about the practical exploration and my convention. So my actual convention in itself is the body, specifically the battle pantomime and imitating the characters, the monkeys, Lord Rama and the demon from the Ramakien. So I rehearsed this in 2 different phases. So my first year, I had a rehearsal partner, and me and her we had these separate dances. So she had the Taco mask dance while I had the clone mask dance. So we would do the dances on stage, like looking at each other and seeing who could make more elaborate movements, and just doing it in that cycle. And then as I transitioned into the second year, I would start doing more independent practice. So this would include stretching, rehearsing and looking at myself in the mirror, and focusing more on the specific body parts. So some of the muscles most utilized in the dance are like the quadriceps, biceps for holding the arms and swords, and the hips and the core so that you could stay on your knees. Because for lots of the dance, you do have to be on your knees, and that's something that the dancers practice a lot. So that was one of the hardest parts to do, but it did become a little bit easier because I was doing gymnastics at the time also, so that was like supplementary. So when I was doing my independent rehearsals, I would start with stretching, so like lunges, and then stretching out my triceps. Flexibility was not really needed for mine, so it was more just based on strength and being able to lift the sword and do the core movements and knee movements. So once I got the knee movements down and lifting my feet like the dancers do, I was able to engage my core, be able to do that while holding the sword. This is my prop. So then I would be able to integrate the hand and arm movements. So the dancers in the actual dance, they usually hold it at an elevated height, and then with the other hand, they like block or just like make movements towards their opponent in the battle pantomime. So first, I'll start like this, get down, bend my knees and my hips, and start lifting my feet like they do. In the background of the battle pantomimes, they did have the monkeys that would just do this on like just a repeat, so they would continuously do this. And then lift. And the hand movements, so their hands do stay pretty curved, like this. That was also hard for me to master because that's like hand flexibility. And then the turn. So my hand goes back here while the sword moves forward. And then you can also switch to this side pretty easily. So that is what I did for the battle pantomime. That was my like little scene that I did based on a YouTube video from a Dubai Expo of the dance. And that's it. For part 3 of my research presentation for the reflection, so some of the IB learner profile traits that I really developed while practicing, both learning, researching, and practicing my tradition, I became a lot more knowledgeable in both the research and just my practical exploration, being able to actually figure out how to do the dance, and what worked for me, what stretches worked for me. Being able to find my flow was really, it gave me a better understanding of myself, like as a performer and how I do when I am performing. For open-minded, this was an unfamiliar theater tradition, and when I first saw it, I felt really like discouraged. I was like, will I really be able to do this? This looks complicated. And then once I actually started exploring, I realized, oh, it's not that bad. And performing it in front of others was not as bad as I thought. My confidence at the start of the research presentation was really low. I thought it would be like embarrassing or humiliating to do it in front of a crowd and to present it to others. But once I actually did it, it really was not as bad as I was thinking, and I found my groove, and I actually really ended up enjoying it, which is something that I did not foresee going into the project my first year. I also became more of an inquirer. I was like, where where did this dance originate? How did it originate and develop over time? I was most curious about, during my research, how it had been destroyed by the Burmese armies, and then several centuries later it was actually brought back. So I was really curious about how that happened and how those records survived. And I just became more just pliable to the dance overall, to the tradition overall. I became very interested, and it really was a valuable learning experience, both being able to do it and being able to learn about it. And it broadened my horizons on theater traditions, specifically in Asian countries, because I'm very used to American theater, where we you have a script, a set of lines, you rehearse those lines, and then you perform them in front of an audience. And this was just something a lot different, because I've been in musicals and we would have choreographed dance, but this wasn't really choreographed. It was just finding what felt right and the movements that felt right to me, and being able to express emotion through the body and through the sword. It was definitely a unique experience. Looking back on how it would how it would impact my performance as a performer as a whole. My first year outside of my IB theater, I was involved in an after-school play production, and I had the opening monologue. And for my opening monologue, I was all alone on stage, and when I was performing it, I was very tense in the body. Like, my shoulders were very stiff. I was just quiet and nervous in front of the audience. There were, several, nearly 200 people watching me. It was very frightening. I feel like if I had the knowledge that I do have now, and if I were able to relax in my body and be able to feel be able to control my movements more and not tense up as much, then I would have been able to deliver a better performance. And going forward within musicals and being a student in theater overall, I feel as though this dance has contributed to my ability to move and understand how I appear to the audience. Instead of just focusing on lines, I can also focus on blocking and how my stance is looking to the audience to convey emotion in that way, which is a component that I did not have before. It was underdeveloped. And I really enjoyed this experience overall. It was very intriguing to me, and